Oh, all right.
There we go.
And it's safe for everybody to be courageous and just ask your questions.
Yeah. Let me just get some more.
I beg your pardon, Yinka. I have received it. I was just
there you
looking
go.
through. It's in my spam. And
Yeah.
that's probably why I haven't received. Yeah, a few. So you've got here. Why again? Reality.
So the first one is
Yeah.
what we've been doing, and then there's the second one that we'll do next month when Michael comes back.
Okay. So the first one is the reality management worksheets. Is that right?
They're both reality management worksheets. They're just different types.
Right.
The first one is the ones that we've been going over.
Right.
And then the second one will be what we do next month with Michael.
So I'll download that first one.
So I'm just going to go through the introduction bit and then we shall start.
Great.
Yeah. So, that's from last time actually. So for anybody that hasn't met me or is the first time here, welcome. And I'm Yinka and I run Hear My Voice Book Club, which is an inspirational self-development books. And all the events that I put on can be found on Meetup. There's a Facebook group, there's Instagram. You can join the email list. That's yinka@hearmyvoicebookclub.com. If you email me, I can put you in the email list, and every Sunday I share what events that are going to be on the Zoom links. So if people want to join that. And this is an idea of what we've just had this week. So we've had the 5 a.m. club. We have that Monday to Friday every week, apart from next week because it's school holidays, and next week will be I'll be taking a break from doing the 5 a.m. club. So only next week it will be off, and then it'll restart back the following week. So what we normally have, Michael is going to be coming twice a month, the second Thursday and the fourth Thursday of every month. So that kind of will make it a bit easier as it gets regular. That's
great.
And the fourth Thursday of every month.
Thank you.
Yeah. On what have we got on here? So Monday, Thursday the 3rd. So that's the first Thursday. Will be the monthly book club. It's not Why Is This Happening to Me Again? It will be, what book are we doing? I've forgotten. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So that'll be on first Thursday in April. This is an old one, this one. So, and then what else we've got? And we've got the lunchtime hour. That won't be on next Wednesday. That's normally on every Wednesday, but won't be on next Wednesday, but will be back on the following Wednesday. All Jodie Spencer stuff is going to go to a Tuesday now, just to give space for doing this on a Thursday. So the progressive course will be on a Tuesday evening at 8 Thursday. That will stay next week, the evening session for the progressive course. That will stay on at 8:30 next week, but that will be Tuesday. And what else we got? And then we've got Breaking the Habit to Being Yourself, Speaking It Into Existence. I think from memory that's the second Tuesday in April, but I will put it out there. And then we've got Calling in the One starting, which is a 9-week workshop. That will be every Sunday for 9 weeks, starting in Sunday the 15th of May. That's quite an intense course as well. But there's only 20 people that can join that one. And we've also got the weekend away in August. Does it have a date in there? Oh, not even put a date on it. So that's in August. There's a weekend away. But anybody that wants to join that, just message me for details for that. See. And we've also got WhatsApp group, keeping people connected. So if anybody wants to join a WhatsApp group, that's just keeping people connected every day. It is a very lively WhatsApp group. We practice all these techniques through the WhatsApp group. Lots of messages of support if anyone's struggling. So if anybody wants to join that, you can just message me your number. That's from last.
I just sent you the large print version. So if you want to put the link to that in the notes, then everybody can access the large sheet version.
Yes, I shall do that. So let me just. This is the most recent one. So yeah, so Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Speaking It Into Existence is Tuesday the 12th of April. Yeah, let's see what we've got. And that's still the same. I've not put it on, but what we'll do is, because we always do breakout room. So it's where we introduce ourselves and sharing something that we're appreciating, because you say appreciation is one of the highest vibrations. So we like to start off with appreciation. So I shall put you in breakout rooms so you can introduce yourselves. You'll be in groups of 3 or 4 and get to know people a bit more as well. And so you'll be in there for about 4 minutes. It'll give you a timer, but just cancel the timer, because once the time is finished, it will automatically bring you back here. If there's nobody in your room, just wait there, because I can see and I can put you in a room where there is somebody. Yes.
On Tuesday, you mentioned you might do Dr. Joe on Sunday night. Is that?
So, yes. Oh, yes. Those that are in for Joe Dispenza on Easter Sunday, we're going to do the 16-hour marathon again. And so that will start at 6 a.m. right through till 10 p.m. again.
Wow.
But I will be sharing the link and stuff out there tomorrow for that. So everybody, if you need to book, some people have booked time off work as well already. So that'll be on the Easter Sunday. I think that is the 15th, is it?
Yeah.
Can't remember.
Let me just check.
It's 15th or
Well, that's pretty interesting. A 16-hour marathon. Wow.
Yes. We've done it twice now.
Is that on Sunday? It's the 17th.
No, it's not this Sunday. It's Easter Sunday. So
Easter
it's the
Sunday,
following,
yeah. It's the 17th of April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because we did it in January and we had over 250 people join. So we'll see how it goes for.
It was brilliant, the one in January, wasn't it? It was fantastic.
Right.
It was wonderful. Terrific.
So there'll be lots of breakout rooms, watching the whole episode all the way through of Becoming Supernatural, and lots of meditations. So yeah, that's on the Easter Sunday, and you'll have time to recover on Easter Monday.
My question was, on Tuesday, you thought you might do this Sunday, just the meditation we had done on Tuesday.
Oh,
so
yes, that's what. Yes, I'll put that out. I'll put it all out there tomorrow. What I'm going to do. The progressive course will continue next Tuesday, and there won't be other events on, but I will be keeping the progressive course on Tuesday.
Yeah, you said there was a meditation that you really like and you wanted to do it
on
again.
Sunday, so that'll probably be Sunday.
Okay, Sunday.
I'll be happy to send you a meditation for Easter Sunday too, if you'd like.
Oh,
yeah,
please. Thank you.
Forgiveness meditation.
That'd be great. How long is your meditation?
Say it again.
How long's in the meditations?
About 20 minutes.
All right, that's great.
Oh, that's great.
I can add that to the 5 a.m. club, because we haven't got a meditation for after your session in the morning. So I could add that to the 5 a.m. club as well.
Well, we've got one that's a progressive relaxation and regeneration meditation. So I'll send you that.
Right.
That's nice.
Called Wellness Through Stillness.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put you all in breakout rooms. Let's see. Need 8 rooms.
That sounds exciting, that meditation. I'd like to do that, but I probably won't be at the 5 a.m. club.
Oh no, I'll do it another time as well. I won't just do it for the 5 a.m. club, but it's something I'll add to the 5 a.m. club.
If I'm at the 5 a.m. club, you know, the sun will stand still or something, you know.
Yeah, you might surprise yourself. There's a lot of people that come that have never got up at 5 a.m. and they've been coming every day ever since.
Yeah, you only have to do it once and it gets really addictive.
Yes. So I'm just going to put you all in rooms now. So it should ask you now. There you go. room to introduce yourselves. So if you want to go in a breakout room, just let me know.
Yeah. No, so.
Is that Brett? Hi. Did you want to join a breakout room to introduce yourselves with the group? They've gone into smaller groups.
So should I just go in and?
I'll sign you into one. Yeah, 1 second. I'll just put you in 1, 2. There you go.
Okay.
So they've got about 3 or 4 minutes left in the room.
How are you, Yinka?
Hi, Di. Sorry, I'm just sorting out something on the screen.
Hello, my darling.
How are you? They've just gone into a breakout room if you want to go in.
I know. I know.
You're right.
I'm happy to be where I am.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yinka?
Yes.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm not sure if I've missed this, but when do the processors come back?
When does the what come back? Sorry.
The processors in the evenings.
Oh,
The
they will come. I might do one next week actually.
Okay.
I'll be sending out a message tomorrow with what I'm going to do next week.
Oh, okay.
So there probably will be one next week actually because I've got a free, but I'll send a message out because I need to work out what days which is going to be on.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Your Thursday.
Okay. Thank you.
They've just got a minute left and then they'll all be back. Oh,
Everybody get up.
wasn't meant to happen.
Don't think I can do that now.
Why not?
Definitely not at this time of the night.
Yeah. Make sure, is everyone starting to come back? Oh no, not everyone's back yet. Some are still in a room. We've got about 30 seconds. People are still showing their appreciation.
While we're waiting, there's an interesting line in the song called Madness by Alanis Morissette. And she's talking about pain and how she's realizing that while she thinks someone else causes her pain, that she realizes she still has her pain when you're not in the room, when the person she's blaming. And it's some powerful thoughts along the lines of what we're doing with this work, really sweet tune, and where she's learning to take responsibility for her pain rather than blame everybody else. But there's, pain's still there when you're not in the room. It's like, whoa.
It's so true.
You were going to recommend us a film in the break room.
Say again, sorry.
Michael was going to recommend us a film.
To recommend something?
A film.
Oh, a film. Michael, were you going to recommend a film?
Yes.
In the break rooms.
Well, we had a few minutes where there was a silent time, so I was going to mention the fact had talked about the fact that we're doing some gardening and building soil here, and there's an interesting film called Kiss the Ground, and Woody Harrelson narrates it, and it's about the fact that we've got about 60 years of soil left on planet Earth, and our soil is extinct. It now becomes just dirt. And it's an invitation for people to start building soil and how it can change the whole global climate problem, how it'll sequester carbon. So I think it costs $1 on Vimeo to watch Kiss the Ground. And it's powerful. And, if we get a lot of people working with that, we're going to change this whole global warming thing just like that.
I've seen that on Netflix. I think it's on Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's powerful.
Just going to copy the details so I can put all the details all in the chat.
Yeah.
I think the whole world is going that way now. We really have to rethink how we're going
wake up time.
Sustainability. Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible. The cars, they've made us have petrol cars. What are we doing? We're choking ourselves, right?
Definitely wake up time. There's another interesting film, if you haven't seen it, Who Killed the Electric Car? And if you look back, we actually started out with fuel coming from plant matter, and gasoline came on board, became big money, and basically shattered everything. But there was a time when electric cars were starting to get popular, and basically a conglomerate of corporate types in the fossil fuel world basically destroyed it. But it's an interesting watch, Who Killed the Electric Car.
And it's like the people who invented water power cars, they've been killed off. Sorry to say that.
Yeah. Definitely time for a change on the planet.
There is. And these worksheets are certainly creating a lot of change.
Well, my take is there is one single reason why we have poverty, why we have suffering, why we have divorce, why we have murder, why we have rape, why we have abuse on the planet. And that's because no one understands how to forgive. No one understands how to remove from their minds the things that drive them to insanity. And, the technology was taught 2,000 years ago and disappeared. If we could restore that piece of technology to every mind, heart, and being on the planet, nobody wants to do the crazy stuff that we all have done or all maybe continue to do. Nobody wants to do that. And they only do it because it's within them. Hand them the tool with which to get rid of it. And the majority of people are going to dump it. And so that's why I do what I do with this forgiveness work. It is the key. When people can realize, oh, I can dump the rage that causes me to abuse, scream, do whatever I do. It's a pretty awesome option.
So what we'll do today, that if people have questions, if you raise your hand, then you'll go in like a queue. So then I can say whoever's first, and then whatever questions you have for Michael, you can ask Michael and then he can answer. I have put all the details of Michael's in the chat. I've also put, as you all know, that Hear My Voice is donation based, but I've added Michael's donation. So any donations that you want to give tonight, I would ask you to send them to Michael instead and support what he's doing. Because yeah,
thank you.
Very welcome. So that's it. That's all in the chat there. So
Cool.
So we've got Brett with his hand first. So if Michael wants to share anything or introduce himself anymore, because I don't know if there's anybody new that hasn't met Michael yet.
Well, that'll unfold. So let's go with Brett.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm going to keep my video off because my bandwidth isn't very good today. I haven't read the book because I just sort of found the group, and
Okay.
I just dropped I was mixing some paint in the garden and the bottom of the paint can fell out and
Ouch.
paint went everywhere. So then just I see the problems. So the solutions are, I take it there's some solutions in the book, like working through the like forgiveness is.
Yes.
I've had a hard time trying to forgive my father.
No, let's say never forgive your father. Never in your life forgive your father for anything. Never forgive anybody for anything. It's the biggest mistake you could possibly make.
Oh,
and that leaves most people holding their breath going, Michael, what are you talking about? I thought this was about forgiveness. Yes, it is about forgiveness. But, Vladimir Lenin, who's probably responsible for more deaths than any human being in human history, says if you want to destroy a culture, change the meaning of its words. The word forgive in its original context, which goes back 2,000 years ago into the Aramaic language, means a tool with which I go inside of me, I find my unconscious pain, and I remove it. That's forgiveness. The Greeks translated those teachings and they redefined, they changed the meaning of the word. And now the meaning of the word is, you did something really terrible that caused all this pain inside of me, but it's okay, I'll forgive you. I'll let you off the hook for the pain that's happening inside of me. If I let you, and let's imagine we've got a global book club here. Let's imagine that 7.5 billion people come to my front door. I shake their hands and I say, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. I do that with 7.5 billion people. Have I done anything to change the pain stored inside of me? Absolutely nothing. We've been tricked. So forgive continuously, but never forgive anybody. So there's a technology, and I suspect Yinka has probably already put in the chat room, or if not, maybe she could put the session in from last week where we went through the worksheet step-by-step process. So that's there. You can also go to my website, whyagain.org, and you'll see a square that says worksheets. If you click that, it'll take you into the step-by-step. Here's how first century Aramaic forgiveness works to give you admission to your own unconscious and show you how to remove the root of the pain and trauma that you perhaps took on in relationship to your father at a very early age. It's a very common thing. We saw it play out in the Oscars the other night. That's exactly what was going on and what happened in the Oscars if you happen to have tapped into that. And the Greeks changed the meaning of the word. So take that worksheet. You can go to your app store on your phone and type in the words Heartland, one word, Heartland, Aramaic, Aramaic, forgiveness. That will take you to the world's only forgiveness app. You can do the process. The worksheet is right there. You can do it right on your phone, print it as a PDF and save it, or print it to your printer. And then there are, in the archives of our radio show, if you go to another place on whyagain.org, there's a picture of a microphone on our homepage. If you click that and drill down, you'll see a place where there are special radio shows. And there's myself and my wife, Jeannie, and there's a psychologist, Dr. Tim Hayes, who's been on the show with us for the last 11 years. And there are at least 20 radio shows, which means 20 hours of instruction on how to use forgiveness, that are free MP3s. You can just go to, click on the microphone, drill down into the special radio shows, and we're walking real live, honest to God people in honest to God situations through the whole forgiveness process. So there's all kinds of information there. And of course, you can download my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again, free. Unfortunately, it's out of print. I can't sell you one, but you can go to Amazon or eBay and you'll find used copies there, or you can download it free from our website in English and German and Farsi and Spanish and 3 or 4 other languages. So, and then we do a radio show 5 days a week from 1 till 2 o'clock. You can Skype into the radio show. The information's on the website, and ask questions. And then, of course, the second and fourth Thursday of every month now, and I don't know how long we'll do that. We'll see what the response is like. But the second and fourth Thursday at 3:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 there 8:30 there in London, we'll be doing this study group. So lots of opportunities to pick up and become proficient at the technology.
And all those details that Michael's just said, they're all on the chat. There's last week's recordings also in the chat as well.
Awesome. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Delighted. Thank you. Look forward to working with you.
And then we've got Gina next.
Hi, Michael. All right. I've got a few little questions, my dear.
Go for it.
And it's about last week when we spoke.
Okay.
You said about healing my son who's died and my ancestors. So how do I go in depth into doing that? Because I'm very willing. I'm very willing to put the work in.
Develop the skill of forgiveness, work with that tool. And as you do, what you'll do is you'll open the issues within your own physiology that are stored within your own structure, and you'll begin to work through them. As you work through them, you will develop higher sensibilities that will empower you to go into ancestral memories that are stored within your genes and change them. It's a skill that will come as you develop and do this work. Yinka, do you have the link to the radio show where a woman called in? She was in our codependence to interdependence intensive, and she was actually going to the hospital for some heart problems. And I gave her the assignment of inquiring of her ancestors about the condition of their hearts.
Oh.
And do you have that one?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe we could put that in, and that would give you a taste of what that looks like. Here's a woman who's 72 or 73. She's getting ready to go into the hospital. She's in an intensive, and I give her the assignment of, well, talk to your ancestors. And that radio show she called in, actually it was live in the intensive, but that's a private recording. But afterward, she called into the show, and for the second time had me in tears as she talked about how her grandfather came to her. Her grandfather had come here from, if I remember correctly, from Lithuania leaving extreme poverty, thinking he was coming to streets of gold in America, and ended up in an area where the poverty was just about as extreme, and he ended up having to dig a hole in the side of a hill for a home for his family to live in. And he shared with her his rage, his pain, why he abused his children and his wife, and together they processed through that, and the live report of that is in that link. So give it a listen, and that'll give you some insight into how that works.
So to get there, I've got to keep doing the work on myself. Yes.
You know, it's like any other skill. How many here are familiar with, what's his name? Young man who's a champion golfer.
Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods. How many know of Tiger Woods? Yeah. You know, it is now, in Eastern USA, it's 4:00 in the afternoon. How much do you want to bet that if we had Tiger Woods' phone number and we called him, he's on a course somewhere, either practicing his chipping or his putting or his driving, or he's playing golf? You want to bet that's what he's doing right now? Now, is he a champion because he does that every day? Or does he do that every other day because he's a champion? You know, if you're going to become a champion, you're going to get on the course. If you're going to develop the skills that we're talking about, and we're talking about subtle, serious learning and process work. You're going to develop brain cells. I've been doing this work now for a little better than 50 years that I've developed this. And I mean, I've done a lot of layers of work over the last 5 decades in my life and with my family system. And the deepest and most important work that I've done personally has been in the last 2 years.
Really? And that's took you 50 years to do that? Okay, so I'll try not to.
Each new level that I get to, it's kind of like, I've come up with an analogy. It's like I'm climbing a mountain. Oh, I want to get to the mountaintop. And I finally get to the mountaintop, and I'm so excited because I'm finished. And then I open my eyes and I go, oh my God, there are 10 more mountain ranges in front of me. And I climb and I climb and I climb, and oh my God, there are not. I don't know where this ends. There's some Harvard research that's key in this set of tools we've got. And what they showed in the laboratory, they were able to hook people up to electrodes and measure brain cell firings. And in a time frame where 10,000 brain cells fired, the max amount of data that went into this person's conscious world, the max amount of data they could see, hear, taste, touch, feel, and smell was 9 bits out of 10,000 measurable units of electrical activity happening. And a little tiny, and it's been estimated in that time frame, which is about a 25th of a second, that there are perhaps 20 trillion bits of data in the actual world in which we live. So if that 20 trillion bit number is true, and I have a mind that can move 10,000 bits and perceive out of 9, I've probably got a pretty significant amount of work to do to get to the whole 20 trillion bits. My potential is who knows what. I used to work with a gentleman who was an ophthalmologist, and he developed a mechanism for using light in the eye to stimulate the brain. And what he used to say to me is that in one human brain, there are more connections possible than all the molecules in the known universe. Now, people often use the example of grains of sand on the beaches of the world. This isn't grains of sand. This is molecules in the known universe. Pardon me, my mistake. Atoms. Hey, sweetie, are you going to hide? Are you going to come hide with me? Okay. Are you hiding from Nina? That's my granddaughter.
Hey, it's your little granddaughter.
So when you recognize that there are the possibility of more connections in your brain than there are atoms, I was mistaken, it wasn't molecules, atoms in the known universe, there might be a significant amount of work to do. And I feel personally like I've kind of just scratched the surface in 50 years of it.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay. Because I was intrigued.
And a lot of that time was spent learning how to use the tools. So you've got the tools, and I'm going to say, here, save yourself 50 years. Here, take it, go to work. Literally, to be able to explain what happens with the forgiveness process, as I did last week, it took me 35 years to understand that piece of the puzzle, to be able to say, here's why and how it works. You don't have to spend 35 years to do that. So you're starting ahead of the curve.
Because you mentioned last week about healing my son, but you're saying I've just got to keep doing the work.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And as you open the space, and even though he's not in his body, you can be the space of active love. Whatever he's carrying in his energy field, we are energy, we are eternal beings. What you deal with, what you handle, what you open and heal and embrace will tend to open the space for him to be able to do the same. You know, the woman that I was sharing, that the link is there for in that intensive with her grandfather. Her grandfather's been dead for decades. I don't even remember how many, but she had a very, very detailed conversation with him, very detailed on his pain, his trauma, his extreme rage and extreme abuse and why, and was able to take him to a place of sorrow for what he'd done and healing.
Oh, okay. I'm not too keen on doing that with my father, but and I don't really, I'm a bit frightened of what I might hear from my son, but my perception of it all at the moment is that he's just at peace and he's healed from everything anyway.
Great. So then if you touch in with him, he's just going to say, hey, Mom, nice to say hello.
Yeah.
Appreciate you and cherish you.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel closer to him now, he's on the other side, than I ever did when he was here.
Right.
You know? A couple of other things. How do I know if I'm doing it right?
Well, there's no way to do it wrong. If you take that worksheet and just fill in the blanks, you'll develop an understanding and a skill of using it more effectively day by day by day. So if you just follow those steps, there's no doing it wrong, but you'll develop the skill and become more efficient. You know, Tiger Woods would say at the first time he hit a golf ball, how do I do it right? And there's no way to say to Tiger Woods, here's how you do it right. We can tell you how to stand, we can tell you how to hold the club and how to swing it. And he's going to have to develop muscle memory, and he's going to develop the skill over time and build the brain cells to be able to really effectively hit that golf ball. Did he ever do it wrong? Well, he hit that slice, but was it wrong? No, that's actually how he learned to straighten his stroke out and get the ball to go down the middle. And so a lot of people, you know, we've been brainwashed with this idea of wrong, but the truth is, if you're doing your work, every step will be part of your learning process. And, you know, if I had a child that was 6 months and got up and tried to take a step and fell on its butt and got up and tried to take a step and got up, and at what point would I say, kid, you're doing it wrong, you're never going to walk, never try again? Well, no. Every time that child fell, they developed the brain cells for, oh, here's how you walk. And one day they walked. Did they do it wrong the third time that they fell? No. Somebody says, well, they fell, they must have done it wrong. No, they were learning how to walk. It's all part of the process. So you perhaps had a power person who gave you messages about how you did things wrong, and that'll be part of your forgiveness work, to let loose of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, the power person, you know, isn't very nice to me most of the time. And you know, and I discovered that, you know, I did one on smoking cigarettes, you know, that there's a lot of self-loathing there because all sorts of things come up.
Right.
And, you know, and when all these thoughts come up, I mean, I did one on the self-loathing actually, and I stood up for myself today, you know, I thought,
right.
But when all these thoughts come up, do you have to do a sheet on every single one of them?
Well, if you, let me see. If I'm peeling an apple and there's several bruises on the apple, do I want to eat the bruises or cut them out? Well, if I don't want to eat the bruises, I'm going to cut them out. If I don't want to live with a thought that is a thought disorder, one that produces negative effects in my physiology and my mind and my emotions and my relationships, then I'm going to cut it out. So yeah, I'm going to apply forgiveness wherever I hold any kind of a thought disorder, and I'm going to start to clean that up piece by piece by piece.
Thank you for explaining that in a nice illustrative way for me. Now, last week, this is the last one, I think, my darling, you told me about the film Gandhi. You remember that?
Gandhi?
Gandhi.
Gandhi, yes. Okay, got it. Did you watch it?
No, I haven't watched it. But I was wondering, why was you telling me about that when, in light of the fact that my son died in October?
Well, for me, and I watch the film Gandhi about once a year just to be re-inspired by how enlightened that man was in the world he lived in. And he went through, witnessed, and was part of some of the most intense horrors that have ever been visited upon the world. And, pardon the fact that we're doing this out of London, England, but the fact is that he took his British abusers out of England, or pardon me, out of India, pretty much single-handedly. He got rid of that abuse. And so it's powerful to watch how he functions as love, how he uses his intuition. And there's a particularly, for me, powerful scene where there's a man named Colonel Smuts, who historically is the symbol of the British Empire and a British abuse in India. And he's in a jail cell, and Colonel Smuts calls him in, and he comes face to face with this symbol of tremendous suffering with his people, and he, not physically, but verbally embraces him in love. He says, I'm not going to support or cooperate with the insanities that you're doing, but I hope it doesn't come between us as men. That, here he is functioning as a human being, embracing someone who's responsible for a tremendous amount of suffering in love and changing the world and doing it. It's just a powerful example for me. So check it out if
Yeah, I will. I'll try and watch it. I've got internet now, which I'm so grateful for, thank God. So just want to say thank you for your love, Michael, and thanks for talking with me.
You got it. Appreciate you. Blessings.
Thank you. And then we've got Francesca next.
We are the regulars. Hi. We are the regulars. Sorry. Can you hear me?
You're loud and clear.
Great.
What's on your mind today?
Oh, I was I was feeling a lot of guilt and a lot of anger at myself. And I did with Yinka, we did in the morning the session.
Right.
We did
the forgiveness process.
No, we did one of your paper. How's it
the
called?
Worksheet. Yes.
Yeah, we did the worksheet.
Right.
And it came up again, the same thing as when I worked with you last week, basically, anger at the self. I just want to say the worksheet was amazing.
And you'll tend to uncover many layers. If it's an issue where there's a really strong emotional response, you'll uncover layer by layer by layer where you integrated that anger as a defense mechanism, as an anesthetic, into your behavior and your physiology. And so in the healing process, you're going to get to have it come up and face it and process through it as you move it out.
Definitely. And I thought about a friend that would die, and the immediate reaction I got was anger. So my anger is covering grief. The question I wanted to ask is, with that, is that when we do the worksheet, we get affirmations, the affirmations that are in the worksheet.
Right.
They are like affirmations.
They are like affirmations.
And then we input whatever we're talking about, from
right.
and I was wondering if that's a good thing to carry on, to take these affirmation and use them as a tool after you do the exercise, or just to go on and do something else as it comes up. I mean, from what I understand, you just take the sheet and you just do things as they come up.
You walk through life as love, and when something less than love comes up, you put it on the sheet and you apply forgiveness. We actually take what most people call affirmations, which is, generally speaking, pretending or hoping or praying or pushing for something to be true that our mind knows isn't true. And so we have a tool for that, and I'll get Jeannie to send Yinka a link to it so she can send it out or put it into the, there's a video that we have on what we call mind shifters. And we take the affirmation, turn it into a mind shifter. And very briefly, here's how it works. Let's say I have a great deal of rage and I'm pointing it at person A. So a mind shifter that would help me to surface that rage. The mind works by the law of resonance. If I say, don't think about the color of your car, where does your mind go? Somewhere to the color of your car. Maybe it's I don't have a car, or I just got rid of it, or I have a new one, or I like the, whatever it is. It's a resonance in the mind. If you give the mind a thought that resonates painful thoughts, and you use it as a brain dump to process through, then with that mind shift, you can do a lot of healing. So let's say I'd invite you to get your pen out and divide a piece of paper in half. And on the left-hand side of the page, here's a mind shifter from what you've told me I'm going to suggest that you use. And the mind shifter is, I have always shared the perfect peace of my father whenever I have been with him. I've always shared the perfect peace of my father whenever I have been with him, or even when I think about him. So divide the page in half. The first thing your mind will probably say is BS. Who are you trying to kid? That's crazy. I have rage. Look, I just admitted that. So here's what you do. When you run out of things to write on the right-hand side of the page, you write the mind shifter again. I've always shared the perfect peace of my father when I'm with him or when I even think of him. And you might write that 10 times before the next brain dump comes up on the right side of the page. Give yourself, with an issue as important and as big as this one is in your life, I would say turn off the phones, set yourself in an isolated space where you're in total control of your life, and give yourself at least 4 hours to just sit and write that mind shifter and let yourself do a brain dump. As you do that brain dump, once you complete it, you go back to the right side of the page and you start looking at, okay, here are all the places that I uncover now my unconscious forgiveness work with my father. I'm becoming conscious of the work I need to do, and then I get to do it.
And can I do the same with because the thing forgiveness, which what you were talking about in the beginning, I heard it in the Course of Miracles as well, and I like it. I really like that we actually don't have the power to forgive anyone, because if we forgive somebody, that means that they did something wrong. So we're already accusing people, and we can't actually do that. And but so would I be able to do the same process with forgiving some wars and things like that?
Anything.
Yeah.
Anything. You know, a mind shifter around war might be, whenever I think of the atrocities of war,
yeah,
I'm able to hold the space of total love. What's my mind say to that? BS. I'm rage. I'm that. Okay, here's what I need to be. I'll uncover. I'll open up what I need to be forgiving. And if I'm breathing through that whole process, each time I touch into something in me that's a thought disorder that doesn't belong in a device made for love, I'm healing it. I'm moving through it.
And how are you 100% sure that you need to do that? And I mean, the whole premise of it, the whole idea is that we are love. And
Correct.
that we need to. So how? I'm not convinced. You see, that's part of my
Oh, well, that's
process.
okay.
So it's not okay because then I can't do it properly. I mean,
No, you don't have to believe a word that I'm saying. That's all right.
It's not that
I don't have.
No, it's not that I don't want to believe it. I'm just saying I in my heart deep I believe it, but I've also got lots of disbelief.
Yes.
That's what I mean. It's not that
Well,
I mean, so
if you go back to this master teacher from 2,000 years ago, give me a second.
Yeah.
He says, you must forgive from your heart the wrongs of your brother. Now, let me translate that in modern English, because in Aramaic, it doesn't say what our mind hears.
Yeah.
So in Aramaic, what he's saying there is every pain and trauma that's in you that you put into your brain's image of someone else
is in you.
Is a pain in you, and you must remove it from your unconscious. That word heart there would be the unconscious. You've got to go into your unconscious and remove all of that in order to be free of the pain. And that's what forgiveness does. You can go back to an even older story and go all the way back into the Old Testament. And this isn't about theology. This is about physiology, physics, psychology, and genetics. And you hear this story about this group of people who are pretty bright, and they've written about astronomy. They know astronomy pretty well. And we're told that they get lost in a 35 square mile area, a desert, for 40 years. Now, let's think about it. These people know where the sun comes up and where it sets. And, you can't get lost in a 35 square mile area for 40 years. It's not about being lost in a hot, sandy place. That word desert there would in our modern language be the unconscious. So most people, take a look around, most people before they start to question, gee, I've been blaming everybody else all my life, and here I am 40, and I realize that every time I've been through it, I've been there. Maybe I'm involved in my life. Maybe some of this is about me. And now I start to come out of the desert by cleaning up my own unconscious, by forgiving everything that is in me that I thought was about everybody else.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm just going to give a little example of what happened today. I was angry at someone, and I was talking to somebody.
So let me stop you. I offer you, and nobody in the world has ever been angry with someone else. You've never been angry with anyone ever in your life. You've been angry, you've got anger, and you can put it into your brain's image of them. The truth is, it's just your anger. It's not about them. Your mind makes a picture up of your brother. Yes, we say you must forgive from your heart that anger which you put into your brain's image of your brother. But it's about removing those things, coming out of denial and owning, here I am in my anger again, and I'm ready to remove anger from my physiology.
I actually realized that when I started talking to my friend, I became very angry, and I realized that I'm being that anger. So that taught me something. But yeah, thanks. That was beautiful. The last example. That's really good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, honored, delighted.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for the questions. That's what makes it possible to really open up in ways that makes it understandable. So.
Great.
Mucho gusto.
Thanks.
So do we have another question?
We have Sarah.
Oh, great. Let's go for it.
Hello.
Hey, welcome.
Hello. You've talked before, and we were also in our breakout room talking about the ancestral pain
Yes.
being in our genes. I was getting the sense of it lodging in our genes. And my question is that, do you think, where people get this sense of past lives from, that they've lived before, but really it's the ancestral pain of someone else's experience lodging in their genes?
My take would be there are many ways of explaining something like what appears to be a past life memory. And one of them is it might be a past life. I don't know. I know that over the years in working with people, I've watched people touch into what they perceived as past life memories and seen monumental, like miraculous changes in their lives. So I suspect it might be accurate, but it may well just be me tapping in. If you listen to Carl Jung, he talked about the collective unconscious. It might
Yeah,
just
I've
be
heard
me
of that.
tapping into the unconscious. It might be an actual life that I lived. It might be an ancestral memory. My take is that intellectually, I don't have to figure that out, but what I can do is I can apply forgiveness and remove it from my structure. Whatever explanation is true really doesn't matter. Am I willing to work through it? That would be the key to me. Because I've watched people who go into past life, I've never seen anybody who was a street sweeper on the streets of Rome. Everybody was always the queen of Sheba or the king of this or the prince or, or the abused one. But, I've never met, somebody whose past life was just an ordinary street sweeper. And so I think there's tends to maybe be some grandeur in it. But whatever it is, if it's based in something other than love and I apply forgiveness, I can get free of it. That's what really matters. What am I going to do with it today? Instead of using it as a way to avoid today, which I've watched many people do.
Yes. Yes. That's helpful. Thank you. I'm quite avoidant myself, so I shall do a sheet about that. Thank you.
Okay, cool. With you embracing in deeper and deeper ways, everything.
Sorry, did you ask me a question?
No, I was just saying I'm joining you in embracing those things and moving through them.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Do we have another question, Yinka?
Is it calling user? Did they have a question? They had somebody raise their hand in the chat. I'll find the hand now.
If we don't have a question, I have some thoughts to share.
I can't find the person that raised their hand.
Take us in another
Did
direction.
anybody raise their hand in the chat? Saw a raised hand in the chat earlier.
Gabriella, is your hand up?
Yeah, my hand is up. Oh, actually, I'm on mute. Okay. Sorry.
Let's go for it, Gabriella. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi, Michael. Thank you. There's too much in my mind, but I'm gonna try to put it into the structure, what I'm understanding from this, and maybe I don't understand it at all, but it's mesmerizing me and it's make my mind so blowing right now. With this forgiveness, I'm understanding this right. Whatever is triggering you from any hurt, or let's say any feeling that comes to you up, is actually your internal feelings about something which you're trying to cover up.
Yes, by blaming someone else. No, if I'm in pain, my physiology is warning me that I'm engaging in an energy that doesn't belong in my physiology. If I live in denial, you made me feel this, then what I'm doing is I'm putting my pain into my brain's image of them. So now they show up in my perceptual construct as the cause of my pain. And I say, yeah, you're the cause of this pain. And now that I've done that, I can no longer clean that out of my own unconscious. I'm stuck with it until I learn how to collapse that lie and come back into direct relationship with my pain and work through it, forgive it, remove the pain.
Right, and this is where it starts to confuse me a little bit. Right, so understanding that part. So if something triggers me out, right, and it's causing me a pain or any kind of feeling, which are
okay,
not
whoa, stop there. It isn't causing you a pain. What's causing you a pain is what you carry inside of you. It may trigger your pain, but the cause of your pain is inside of you. But if you tell your mind, it causes my pain, what you're saying to your mind is, mind, keep the fact that this pain belongs to me hidden from me and show me a picture that it's caused by them. Now your mind will show you a lie. And when we're living into a lie, we can't get rid of the very thing that we want to dump because we're putting it into our brain's image of others. It's called projection. So when we're in projection, blaming someone else, if we apply that worksheet process, what happens is it collapses the perception. And when it collapses that pained perception that's coming from that underlying unconscious condition, By applying forgiveness, I get to drop right into that part of my unconscious. I get to bring that part of my unconscious forward, and I'm now in direct relationship with my pain rather than an indirect projected image of my pain. In the indirect projected image, I can't change it. But when I collapse that, and this can mean I'm going to a more intense level of experiencing my pain because I'm experiencing it directly. But if I'm standing in the forgiveness space, then I'm processing out the root cause of that pain. I've gotten to the underlying process through that worksheet, and now I'm dumping it for myself, for my physiology, for my genes, for my ancestors, backward and forward.
Wow, that's just brilliant. I think, yeah, it's made me to understand it much, much more. Only
Good.
one more thing. So the pain which I could feel, is it a real cause, or that could be a completely different cause? I just don't know what is it, and I need to work on it to find it.
It's very likely a totally different cause than what you think. It was a great line in the Course in Miracles. Someone mentioned the Course. Says, I'm never upset for the reason I think. So when I'm in upset, I have this construct that shows me my upset's caused by them. I'm not upset because of them. I'm upset because there's upset in me. I'm not angry at my child because I'm angry at my child. I'm angry at my child because I have anger in me. So my anger isn't at my child at all. It's just there, but I put it into my brain's image of them and I puke it on them. And so I say, and I tell myself that lie. When you collapse the lie, which is what forgiveness does, you get to the truth.
Right. So am I right to think, let's say, if I am not happy with in some certain of my life, like some situation of my life or on some part of my life, and let's say that's causing me a pain already, let's say, but I'm not bringing them to the surface.
Once again, the situation isn't causing your pain. The situation may trigger the pain that you have unresolved within you, and that situation is your opportunity, if you use forgiveness, to work through and remove that pain. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's all from me. Thank you, Michael.
Delighted.
I'm going to ask a question.
Go for it, please.
Because it's like, I get it, but then it's like, when you forgive someone or you...
Nope, never forgive anybody for anything. Never.
You release what was within you. Isn't there the possibility of continuing putting yourselves in that situation if it's, some situations are negative, bad, or somebody's doing something harmful that's towards you?
Forgiveness doesn't mean I have to go lay down in front of an abuser and say, abuse me some more. Forgiveness means if I acquired pain through abuse, I'm going to remove my pain. And I'm smart enough to go, I'm not going back for that abuse. The stove is hot. People say, well, you see, fear is a good thing because fear keeps your hand away from the stove so you don't get burned. Baloney. Fear puts you into a sympathetic dominant posture where your circulation is restricted, your higher cortical functions don't work, you don't digest, you don't eliminate, you can't reproduce. It does all sorts of terrible things to you, but it can allow survival in a situation where there's a tiger chasing you. It's a wonderful thing, that fear. But once the tiger's gone, or once I realize that my fear of the boss coming in the office is a replication of the way I felt when my mother walked in the room, once I forgive that, then I'm able to reopen my circulation. I'm able to move out of that sympathetic dominant state into what's called a parasympathetic state. And parasympathetic is called rest and digest. All of a sudden, blood flow opens to the higher centers of the brain. Blood flow opens to deeper parts of the structure that do things like digest food. If a lion's chasing you, you don't need digestion. You don't want digestion. It's a waste of energy. So sympathetic dominant shuts it off. But if that goes on for weeks and months and years, you end up in a hospital with surgery for digestive disorders or reproductive disorders, or any of those higher functions. So I don't have to have fear to keep my hand off the hot stove. I have intelligence. The stove is hot. I don't put my hand on the stove anymore. I've resolved the fear. I've forgiven the fear, and I'm in a parasympathetic dominant rest, digest. My digestion works well. My higher cortical functions work well. My reproduction works. Everything operates really well. And there's the hot stove, and I go, I don't put my hand there. It's called intelligence. So there's no implication in forgiveness that there's any need to go back to the place where abuse is happening. Actually, higher cortical function happens, and you go, that wouldn't be smart for me to go do again. Otherwise, of course, if you don't resolve those things, you get to live the title of my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? By the way, if you're new to the book study, you can download the book free. There's a link I'm sure that Yinka's put in there. Thank you for all the technology skills you have, Yinka. So there's a link there. You can download the book free from my website in one of many languages. Or as I said earlier, you can order it. Usually, it's out of print. So there are used copies available, at least here in the States. Back at the turn of the century, we sold several tens of thousands of copies. So there's still lots of copies around in eBay and Amazon that you can order them from.
Can I just ask one more? So if someone continues to put their hand on the stove when they've said they're forgiven, is that then not really the forgiveness that you speak of, as then they've not removed it from themselves? They've not truly removed it from themselves because they're still putting the hand on.
Yeah, my take would be that the person who keeps putting their hand on the stove and inflicting pain on themselves probably needs to do some worksheets around guilt and blame and deserving to be punished. I developed a program, or co-authored a program called Laws of Living for the prison systems. We cut recidivism over 90% in a federal prison in Atlanta, Georgia, back several years ago. And one of the things we found in interviews with prisoners is that most prisoners felt better when they were punished for their crimes. So my take would be the person who keeps putting their hand on the hot stove and burning themselves, there's an issue about self-worth, there's an issue about self-judgment, there's an issue about self-loathing, and that's just another issue that needs to be forgiven.
So would that person then do one on self-worth and individually of those?
Yeah, I mean, there could be any number of issues that go along with that. If they come from a family system of, well, no matter what happens, we always get punished because we're bad people, then this person's going to consciously or unconsciously move in the direction of self-punishment. So my take would be the putting of the hand on the stove would be a form of self-punishment. And that would be where one would start to look at, well, why do you feel like you deserve to be hurt? Why do you feel like, and, things like, people who enjoy being hurt, they're called masochists. My take is the person who does that oftentimes is a person who they've been so abused that they go, well, if I hurt myself first, then nobody else will have to hurt me and I'll be in control of that. People who cut themselves, they're using a pain that they can control to try to deal with pain that they can't control. When you apply forgiveness, you get down to that deeper, lower level of pain and you're removed from it. By the way, you know what the true sadist says when the masochist says, beat me? The true sadist says no. We're not getting any laughs out of that one? Okay.
No,
I couldn't resist. What can I say?
This was
Just
again
thinking about it, it's quite
mind-blowing.
profound.
Yes.
I didn't understand it.
Okay.
Well, I grew up
Well-
in a Catholic family, and so I get that very much because it was all about that, about the
Catholic
guilt
guilt.
and the punishments, and it
Oh.
all works hand in hand. And it was kind of like, when you grow up in that system, it's kind of like, oh, you're not forgiven until you've had your punishment.
Yeah. Yeah.
May I say
We're
something?
on the
You're not
punishment
really-
plan. It's time to put an end to punishment on this planet. Punishment does not serve any constructive use ever, ever, ever.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but the other things like I think we are living in a life right now when people are open and we are more safe than we used to be. But when we're going back just only 20, 30 years ago, many actually marriage, they were hiding this kind of things because they were ashamed and they couldn't speak up. There wasn't any help out. Even the police, they didn't acknowledge what's happening. So
yeah,
it's like we are at the moment where we are getting help, but let's remind ourselves like it's not everywhere available.
Right. Well, that's why we're doing this, so that it becomes available. My commitment is to take this tool in particular and literally make it available to every mind, heart, and being on the planet, and every resource I have. You know, my wife and I live a fairly meager lifestyle, and every penny that comes in is dedicated to how do we create another project to make this available to a wider range of people.
That's wonderful.
As soon as I read your book, that's the feeling that I had, that people, how can I get this out there?
Yeah. And you're doing a similar kind of thing, Yinka.
That's awesome.
Yes. Can I ask you a little question as well?
We have got others with their hand up at the moment.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, so then we'll come back to you. We'll just go in line.
I just thought there were none.
All right, yeah. No, but they'd all put them up as I was asking questions. People were putting their hand up. So we've got Giselle next.
Hi. This is the first session I've been to, and I have heard. Well, I'm part of the group, a good attender of Yinka's group, who's absolutely phenomenal. And I've been trying to get onto one of this session, and I thought I'm just going to listen and just listen to what's being said. And I struggle with forgiveness, and it's a particular situation, and I think I'm trying to understand your teachings, I guess.
Okay, I think I've got your question.
And I think it's around, so when we're born as a baby, we're brand new, we don't have pain, we don't have all this stuff to have to, forgive. And
we actually do have a whole genetic history.
Oh, okay.
But it's not active. It's not active yet.
Right. Okay.
Life will come along and activate different parts of our genetic history. And there, I think that we come in to do a particular work. And if we do that work, it's going to be the working on those things which we've drawn to us that bring those energetic patterns up that never belonged in a human form in the first place. And so when we're talking about forgiveness, and this is a big one to break through, we're not talking about, I'm going to let you off the hook because you're the cause of my pain. That's a Greek act of pardoning. So if you've got a situation going on and there's somebody in your life that your mind tells you need to forgive, never forgive them. It can be very appropriate to say or think toward them, you know, what you did is really crazy, off the wall, illegal, immoral, and I'm going to pardon you for that. And I realize that around that behavior, I have a lot of pain in here. So now, having pardoned you, okay, I let you off the hook for that. I'm calling it what it is, pardoning. If I call that forgiveness, then I'll never do the real forgiveness work. So we want to distinguish. If I choose to pardon someone, I do that. And then I recognize my pain is internally generated, and I need to apply forgiveness to remove my pain, to be finished with it. And it's probably a pain that I watched either mom or dad have. And mom or dad probably watched their moms and dads and their moms and dads and their moms and dads with the same pain. So now I'm going to be responsible for my bloodline, and I'm going to start to process that energetic pattern that causes my pain out of my physiology and out of my genes. And that's forgiveness. So forgive continuously, but never forgive anyone.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. The process has got to go from within.
Exactly. You got it.
And it's drawing it out. So basically, the idea is that I really, really work on everything that comes up.
Inside
so
of
that
me.
in the end, if the next time I see that particular person that does trigger it,
Right.
I won't get a trigger.
Correct. I'll walk by them and I'll look at them and I'll go, I remember when, and thanks, I'll pass, tip my hat, I'll send you love, I'll hold you in a space of love. And there's nothing in me left. There's a neat passage in the book of Thomas. And remember, all of this work comes out of the first century Aramaic physics language, not theological language. But in one of the books that never got canonized, there's a passage where the disciples are with this man, Yeshua, and the Pharisees are really down. I mean, they're really railing on him, beating on him emotionally and such. And the disciples kind of turn to him and they're like, why don't you sock it to them? Why don't you give them back some of their own medicine? He says, I have none of that in my store. There's none of that in me to do. I have no inclination to do it because it's not there. If you've got an inclination to do something aberrant, something out of harmony with love, you're doing it because it's there and you need to forgive it. Otherwise, it's going to control you and ultimately destroy you. So I want to face everything in me and in my whole genetic history that is out of harmony with love, and I want to remove it from my structure. That's forgiveness work. Nothing to do with pardoning, nothing to do with letting other people off the hook.
Yeah. Okay. So, Yinka, yeah, we've got a lot of work to do.
We got, hey, join the club. You know, we're all in this together. I mean, I've been doing this work, as I say, for 50 years, and
yeah,
I've gotten to the deepest levels of my work in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's a significant person that's, in my life and I've tried to come at it, resolving it in all sorts of different ways,
right.
Which has exhausted me. I've been left exhausted.
Yeah.
And so I've realized, and it's through all the personal learning development that I think, okay, and I've now chosen to really just work on internal stuff.
Nice.
And I'm sort of, it's that layer and layer and layer and layer and that sort of unpeeling of an onion. And I'm loving it. It's good, it's challenging, it's
right.
revealing things. And I think, okay, you know what? I've got to come at this. The only way I've not actually achieved or looked at it yet is by forgiveness. And I don't, that's something it's a skill I've got to learn because I don't. And
well,
I
here's the
recognize that I've also
technology,
got to,
step by step.
Yeah, and I recognize I've got to forgive myself because in many ways I've hurt myself.
Never forgive yourself for anything. Never. I mean, if you choose to let yourself off the hook, pardon yourself, great. Pardon yourself, then go do your forgiveness work around yourself. If you call pardoning yourself forgiveness, then you'll never do the necessary forgiveness work.
Right.
And, if you're looking at peeling the layers of an onion, onions are kind of make you cry and they're not very pretty. I have a different metaphor for you. Think of the lotus blossom. You're opening the petals of the lotus blossom, and what you end up with is beauty and that awesome flower. And it's still peeling the layers, but it's to me, it's a little nicer image than crying in front of the onion.
Yeah, no, I'll adopt that instead. And it was just listening, and I'm thinking, gee whiz, okay, and I'm happy to do the work, and it's about sort of drawing it up, taking it out, and letting it go and releasing. Really.
That's it. That's forgiveness.
I did a 4-page thing on Tuesday because I felt all this stuff coming up, and I just sat and I just wrote and 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 wrote, and then I took it and sort of said, okay, I accept this, and then I went outside and I actually burnt the whole thing, and
Perfect.
that the relief and the release and the lightedness from that, and I just thought, wow. But I spoke my truth. It was just absolutely, whatever, it just came and it came and came and came.
Well, you know, there's an ancient principle that's been kind of dissed by the world, and it's the principle of confession. And, you know, it became a religious thing. You're supposed to go to somebody who's got the power to forgive you. No. When I confess, when I put it on paper, when I really look at the truth, I get to heal what's not true about what I think is the truth in me. That's the power of confession. That's what it was really all about.
Yeah.
It wasn't about someone with magic hands that could, you know, bless you and fix things for you. But it was about it. An important factor in it is that there is somebody there who, at least theoretically, has done their own work and can be the space for you, can support you and hold to that love, where sometimes it can be difficult when you start facing some of those tougher issues. It can be difficult to bring actual love present to that. And that's where community comes in. That's where this whole community that we're working with right now, the power of the support that's there in doing it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you very much, Michael. I
Honored,
appreciate your
delighted.
time. Thank you.
Delighted.
Thank you.
One thing that I've taken from like reading the book as well is that because we've got all these layers that need peeling, sometimes you go into it of, this is going to be hard work, I've got to do the hard work. And what I realized by reading your book as well is that you don't have to kind of see it as being the hard work. It's like you can go and live your life and do the stuff, and then when the triggers come, you just go back to the work street, and then you go through life and you just enjoy or do whatever you're doing, and then you go back to the worksheet once the trigger comes. Because what I've noticed in some stuff, it's like people think that you've got to dig deep and pull out every bad situation that happened in your life. And I think what really helped when I was reading your book was that you didn't have to go and dig in deep to your whole history. It would it would come up, the triggers would show you it.
Carry a good supply of cosmic grease. Willingness. You know, if I'm in resistance, I don't want to feel this, I don't want to deal with this, I can take something that took 2 minutes to develop and still be doing this 10 years later. If I'm in willingness, which I call the cosmic grease, if I have that willingness, I can take something that took 10 years to develop and 2 minutes later, I can be finished with it because I soften and I open. And in Aramaic, the word Satan is not about a dude with a red suit, a tail, and a pitchfork. The word Satan, literally, it's a lowercase word, and it means the resistor, one who misleads. You look at the average person in our cultures, and they live in Satan. You tell them they're responsible for this rage that they've got toward Bill, and they go, no, that's not me, that's not he. Look, let me tell you. And they'll give you their whole mislead, their whole story about how it's all Bill's fault. That's being trapped in Satan. Now, they've been through that rage 87 different times with 42 different bills, but they never wake up to the fact that I'm the one who's been there every time. That's about me. So when I get free of being trapped in Satan, I'm in willingness. I recognize this is moving in me. I can bring it forward in the presence of love, and I can dissolve it. I can remove it. And that's forgiveness.
Then we've got Nellie next.
Hi, Michael. Lovely to see you
welcome.
again.
Delighted.
So you were talking about these prisoners that you worked with and how that they actually felt somehow relieved from the punishment.
Yes.
And so that's what my question is about. So my cousin works as a prison officer, and she says that almost all of them say they didn't do it and they're in denial. So I'm just wondering if they're in denial towards the world and themselves, do they still feel a relief from the punishment?
Yes. Yeah, it is a way of, you know, and it's twisted, it's upside down and inside out, but in a kind of a strange way. Oh, well, if I've been punished, then, you know, the big guy isn't going to have to punish me for it. I think that's probably the dynamic behind it.
And is that why they continue the behavior when they're let out again?
If they go back, two things. One, criminality is a stress adaptation mechanism. It's a way to adapt to excessive stress. If they learn what causes their stress and they move away from that, and you know, I do a course called Getting the Stress You Need. Stress has been given a bad rap in our culture. Oh, stress. Oh, you don't want to be in a stressful job. You don't want stress. If you didn't have stress, you'd be dead. It's your best friend. It's when your stress goes off the rails and no longer serves your life purpose and it becomes overload. Then stress kills. Actually, there's an interesting documentary called Killer Stress. Pretty powerful. Now, in all the years I've been doing this work, I've never found anybody, all the stress experts I've ever talked to, and I never found anybody that could tell me what caused stress. What we show in Laws of Living is that stress comes as a result of setting a goal. You'll notice that you're never upset with anybody, unless you're a generally miserable person. You're never upset with anybody when they're fulfilling all the goals you have for them. You're quite happy with them. The only time that you're in upset is when you load a goal in your mind for them and they refuse to achieve it. And that goal creates a stress in your mind that shows you the dissociated parts of your own mind. But as long as you're in denial, you put those dissociated parts of your mind into your brain's image of them. And what forgiveness does is it collapses that whole false perception, gives you direct access to the underlying pain, and allows removal of that pain. So if someone starts to understand what their stress is, how their stress is caused, and applies forgiveness, canceling the goals that cause the stress, then they'll not get back to the level of stress that calls for them to go back to a life of crime in order to deal with their stress. That's been my experience.
Then I would say we have a long way to go with the current prison system.
Hey, you know, we have a long way to go with the Oscars.
That too.
You know, it's the same. It's the same dynamic. I don't care if you go to, you know, what's happening in Ukraine, or what happened in the Oscars, or what's happening in the political system here or there, wherever it is. When people try to use force to have their goals fulfilled, they destroy themselves, and they end up replicating generational patterns. You know, there's a thing I do called codependence to independence, and I bring forward what I call a power person dynamic in that. And without getting into all that, I don't know how much time we've got left, but without getting into all the details of it, if you, one of the things we know is that once a power person dynamic is installed in someone's mind, it will control their whole lives. And the pinnacle of that, without getting into the whole explanation, is that under extreme stress, when someone's ultra stressed, what they will do is they will do the behavior that their power person did to them that they hated the most. Now, if you go back and check out the article on Will Smith, and in People magazine, he wrote a memoir long before the Oscar thing happened the other night. And he details the memory of being 9 and acknowledging that this was the most important event that has shaped his life. And guess what the event was? At 9, he watched his father punch his mother in the head and watched her fall over unconscious and bleed.
Wow.
And here he is, he's now 53, so 42 or so years later, or 44 years later, whatever, under stress. Now, notice, and you know, if you watch the video, Will Smith is there. I mean, he's going to possibly win an Academy Award. He's quite happy. He's quite joyful, and he's got a goal to have a good time. And Chris Rock tells that joke, and he laughs. He's having a good time until Jada gives him the look. And a goal is activated in Will's mind. It's the same goal that he wished he'd achieved with his father 40 some years ago. That goal takes him back to the power person dynamic, and he does exactly what his father did to his mother, the thing he hated most that his father did in his life. And he did exactly the same thing. That, my friends, is what runs the world. That's why we have violence. That is why we have divorce. That single dynamic runs every church, every government, every business, every marriage, every parent-child relationship, every mother-father relationship, every lover relationship where people don't understand and have never applied forgiveness to remove the power person dynamic from their minds. It's just how it works.
So I have one more question.
Yes.
And so this is actually with regards to the war in Ukraine. So I find it really difficult because I can see on the days that I don't watch the news, I feel much better, more peaceful. I'm more loving with my daughter. But then I read the news and
when you go under stress,
I go into stress because my goal is world peace and love. So I'm really in conflict because on the one hand side, we need to know what's going on. We need to like be able to help. We need to support. We need to show that we're there. On the other hand side, it affects me. So I'm kind of struggling, you know.
Here's what your forgiveness work. Here's your assignment. You know, these instructions will self-destruct in 35 seconds. Should you choose to accept the assignment, here's what your forgiveness work will look like. It will mean you must cancel your goal for world peace.
And that's what I find very, very difficult.
When you cancel, well, wait a minute. Now, you don't let's get clear about forgiveness here, or why you cancel a goal. You don't cancel the goal because there's something wrong with it. You don't cancel the goal because you don't want it. You don't cancel the goal because it's an improper goal to have. You cancel the goal because you recognize whenever you load it in your mind, it elicits a pain response from you. So any goal that you load in your mind, you know, I have a baby and I cherish them and I want to love them and I'm so angry because they're doing this. What do I need to do? I need to cancel my need to love my baby. And what happens is, you know, when you tell me that you're in pain and upset when you think about this war and the fact that the world is not at peace and you have a goal for it to be at peace, what you just told me is you have a file in your mind on world peace and there's pain in it. And guess what? As long as you have a pain in your file on world peace that you're unwilling to resolve, energetically, you're a supporter of war. I'm a supporter of war if that's in me. Yeshua talked 2,000 years ago about a house divided against itself. That's what that means. Oh, I want this up here, but I got a different energy going on down here. So you don't cancel the goal because you don't want world peace. You cancel the goal because you recognize that in that file in your mind, there's pain and trauma, and you want to process it out. And forgiveness empowers you to process it out. And then having processed it out, I go back to that goal for world peace, and everything in me is in alignment, and energetically, I am now a true and total supporter of world peace. When we get a critical mass of people who are that space, the world will shift into peace that fast. As long as everybody's going, oh, I have so much sadness, I have so much grief, I have so much rage, I have so much pain about there being no peace in the world, guess what you are? You're a contributor to pain and trauma and war. That's what energetically. And so we need to go into our own unconscious, into our own hearts and clean that out. So whatever the trigger is, and it seems so backwards, so counterintuitive, why would I cancel this perfectly wonderful goal? Because every time I load it in my mind, it shows me my pain. And I need to process through my pain. Once I process through my pain and I load that goal, I'm in perfect alignment, and now energetically, I'm an actual supporter of world peace on every level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I've succeeded with my daughter. I try to do it with my daughter, like when she's whinging because she's getting teeth and she is just giving out. And I try to just let go of her being happy. And I think it did something, like, because it removed like my want for her to be in a certain way.
Yep. There you go. So you can be at peace, whatever she's doing. And being at peace, whatever she's doing, you're a whole lot better support and a whole lot better chance she's going to do well through everything than if you're in pain or trauma about what appears to be what's going on for her. So I clean up, I face and clean up every pain and trauma in my mind, in my life. And then I go in and I start to work on my generational patterns.
Thank you.
Yeah, honored,
This
delighted.
was really helpful. I
Good.
appreciate it.
Sweet. Great. Doing my job.
It was really helpful, that was. I can feel it in my body. It's like my body's getting really uncomfortable with what you say. But I know it's because it's
right. Awesome. Awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
what it takes. I'm going to share a piece from my own process that happened recently. When I say recently, about probably 6 or 7 months ago, there's a tool that we teach in our intensives called still point breathing. And I was doing a still point session. And I'm laying down and my eyes are closed and I'm doing this breath work. And all of a sudden I'm inclined to turn my eyes downward and look down. What I see is a field of darkness that is so monumental, it goes on forever. I mean, it is just beyond comprehension, what I see of this darkness. And in this darkness, there are these uncountable number of lights that are just local, but spots of light throughout this whole expanse of darkness. And what I'm told is, here is the darkness being carried by an uncountable number of my ancestors. And the guidance I got, and this is what I say, the most important work I've been doing has been the last couple of years. The guidance that I got in that space, the request that I got, the intuitive, energetic request that I got was my ancestors asking if I could or would be the space of active love to support them processing through all of that darkness. To which I verbally said out loud, addressing my ancestors, yes, I'm willing to be here and I will be that space to process all of that darkness. The instant I said those words, and I said them out loud, my eyes are closed and I said them out loud, and my phone rang. And I pick up my phone and I answer it, and it's my son. My son is 42. My son and I have never had a conversation about our ancestors. We've never had a conversation about, my grandfather, my great-grand, never, anything. Literally to the second when I said verbally out loud, I will be here to process, I will receive all of that traumatic energy, and I will process it through me. I will hold to the space of love and do that. My son's on the phone, and my son says, Dad, I'm on Ancestry.com, and I'm thinking of signing up for an account, and I need some information about Grandma and Grandpa and great and good. And he's just filled with questions about ancestors. As we develop the skills, we go into deeper and deeper layers of the capacity to do the work of healing humanity. And that's what I'm here to support.
Yes.
Everybody breathing?
Ah.
Take a breath. I need one.
Could I just ask a quick question? In your worksheet, you've got the rose and butterfly story.
Yes.
Would you mind expanding on what that is, please?
Sure. That's a story I like to tell. And it's a story about, imagine we've got a rose and a butterfly, and we give them each an ego. The rose and the butterfly meet and they fall in love. And they have this wonderful relationship. It's just great time together. But one day, the butterfly up and flies away. The rose, knowing that the butterfly and its relationship with the butterfly is more important than anything in its life, uproots itself to give chase. What's going to happen to the rose? It's going to die. If you make your source, your created essence is love. If you make anything more important than love in your life, then you uproot. And the result is you die. So your source, if you've ever held a newborn child and you tap into that essence of that newborn, and this is a question that my wife Jeannie and I have asked of tens of thousands of people all over the globe, and 100% of the time, the answer when someone actually taps into the essence of the newborn is they describe the newborn with a word that is some symbol or relationship with love. And then I ask people, so now that you've tapped into the essence of that newborn, is the newborn loving you or is the newborn love? Everybody stops, kind of rolls their eyes a little bit and goes, well, they don't even know I'm here. So obviously the newborn is love. So that's who you are. That's how you started out. If you make anything more important than that, you know, your husband doing this, your child doing that, your spouse doing that, Putin doing this, you know, Will Smith doing that. If you make anything more important than that, then you shut down the flow of love in you. And life is love flowing through a cell. Anything you do to restrict life flowing through your cellular structure is suicide. It's time for us to give up suicide. It's been going on for too many generations.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, Shay.
Thank you. I'm asking about aloneness and loneliness. I know it's in, I experienced quite a lot, and that's a very difficult one for me to overcome. I know it's ancestral, a lot of loss of family and things like that. And yeah, it's too big for me to. The feeling I get is overwhelming.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's not something that it's like I function very different with people around.
Yeah,
really, really different.
So there's an old question that says, how do you eat an elephant?
Bit by bit.
One bite at a time. How do you work through something like that? One little piece at a time. If you try to take on the whole thing, yes, you'll be bowled over and it won't work. You do, you know, here's my offering. If you realize you are love, then make a commitment to walk through life as love. You don't have to figure out or deal with all that past stuff. Just walk through life as love.
Yeah.
If life delivers a circumstance that brings something less than love up in you, do the forgiveness work and let go of that burden. Okay. Walk on as you don't have to go back to the past and figure it all out and deal with it all. Just walk forward as love. Life will deliver you, and it will not deliver more than you can handle. It'll deliver the stimulus that'll show you your next piece of work, and just do that piece of work one bite at a time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
We've got Rushmore.
Yeah. Thanks, Inka, and thank you, Michael, that you're letting us have a huddle such as it is in this
cool
day. I had it dropped to me previous that us doing this work is making for a change in the behavior of the human fabric amidst ourselves, and it's definitely worth it.
Absolutely.
Though be it the so. And I get that we can calm ourselves and still do the work, but it feels like it's an equate of us hanging out on the side of the freeway and all the traffic is still running by in front of our eyes and ears and so forth. It's just, I guess, beholding, and it's still so new, and probably get a better felt sense and start to build a file amidst me of my human body embodiment, that the better this gets to be a genuine, almost like a partner, say, of skill set, there really will be make of change.
You'll
literally
change the
starting in my in
change
my
the world.
embodiment house, and then in my house physical, and then on out. Okay.
Yeah,
wanna make sure
2,000
I'm
years
tracking.
ago, 2,000 years ago, the physicist Yeshua said a little leavening leavens the whole loaf. My offering is he wasn't talking about bread. He was talking about humanity. When enough of us show up as conscious, active, present love, together we will create a joined energy field that will permeate all of space and all of time and reach into every mind that holds pain and assist them to process their trauma. There's a line in the worksheet, actually back when my kids were small, we started a parent school. And as a result of, and part of the school was that every parent had to spend at least one day in the school educating the children. And as a result of doing that, we were invited to start a program at a school in Delray Beach, Florida. And we started a program that we called Lessons in Living, kind of related to my Laws of Living work. And the first week, the first month, we had 4 different teachers. And we went from kindergarten to grade 8 in that one school. And each one took the same lesson in for a month. We reinforced that for a month with these kids. And the lesson was, when I choose love, it wakes up the love in everyone. When I hit a middle C tuning fork on a desk, and I put it in front of a second middle C tuning fork, the second tuning fork doesn't have any choice. It has to vibrate. If I choose to function as love, anyone, no matter how deeply buried they are in pain, it starts to resonate or move the love in them. When we get to critical mass, the whole game's going to change that fast.
Wow.
If I thought we had to go to every violent mind and change it, I'd have given this up a long time ago.
Right.
We don't.
Yes.
We don't.
Yes.
No, and we look at, the pain and trauma in the world, and if you look back, like, I'll have to see if I can get the figures correct, because a lot of people look at, there's so much pain and suffering in the world. In 1990, there were approximately, if I remember correctly, and my numbers may be off, approximately 2.5 million people living in dire poverty in the world. In 2018, there were 650,000 at that level of dire poverty. That's monumental progress in just 30 years.
Yes.
We're making a lot of progress in cleaning up the insanity. And, it's still going on. But if I remember that I don't have to be in insanity and join someone's insanity, I can shine the presence of active love on insanity, then I become part of the healing of the problem rather than part of the problem.
Wow. That's huge. I mean, it's just like,
Yep. It is. It's kind of like, it's as big as Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. Wonder why I have that name. No.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I see you got a hue in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
And then if we wanted to do the intensives, are they listed at the podcast's library, or?
If you go to the website, you'll see a link that says, activities, I forget what it's called, but workshops, activities. Right now, we don't have any live intensives scheduled. We have a teaching center, but it's been closed for the last 2 years due to COVID. We have done a couple of live intensives online, and we've packaged, there's one intensive available right now that you can do as a self-study. It includes 2 personal code evaluations. The starting point is we've got an evaluation that's based on what's called the MMPI, the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. It's kind of the gold standard of psychological testing. So we've ferreted that out into what questions are important in the arenas we're talking about with this work. So you start out and you do the evaluation, and it tells you where your blocks are and where your most important work is, and gives you specific assignments for you personally. And then there are 90 hours of self-study videos where I've done live teaching. My wife has done some live teaching with a group of people on Zoom, questions and answers, processing, still point breathing. We've gone through the whole process, and that workshop includes, why is this happening to me again? The forgiveness work, healing through relationships, communication. Did you hear what I think I said? Mind shifters and still point breathing, and codependence to interdependence. So that's a 90-hour self-study package.
Okay.
And you can go to the website and you can purchase it. And then when you complete, and you can take whatever time period you want to complete that study, when you complete it, you have another evaluation so that you can tell how effective your work has been, and you get feedback on what your next level of work is. So that can be purchased from the website, and the cost of the 90 hours of live video for self-study is $600, everything including the 2 evaluations.
So
Gee, is
that's
that
all
all?
online. Can you just quickly ask?
It's all done online, yes. If you sign up for it, Jeannie will set you up an account, and she'll send you a link to the personal code evaluation. That's the starting point. Once you do that, she'll do a breakdown of it and send you 2 videos to understand what that evaluation means and what your assignments mean. Once you complete that, then she'll send you a spreadsheet with links to 90 hours of self-study to walk through all those workshops that I just spoke about.
Oh,
As I
that'd
said,
be
the cost for
so-
everything is $600 complete US.
Oh my
Michael, can I
gosh.
ask something? I'm sorry to jump in, but regarding the
That's
$600,
okay.
thank you very much. Is it possible to pay in an installment?
If you need to, drop me an email. My email address is, or actually drop it to Jeannie and she'll forward it to me. Her email address is JEANIE, Jeannie, at whyagain.org. So Jeannie, JEANIE, at whyagain.org. Drop her a note, tell her you want to do that.
Got it.
Yes, we'll work that out with you.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry again.
Sure.
That's all right. Thank you. Thank you. I felt complete. Thank you.
Awesome.
I
Oh,
also put Julie's thing in the WhatsApp group for those that do want to take a look at that.
Are you putting that email in the WhatsApp, Yinka?
Yeah, I'll put that in the WhatsApp as well.
Okay, lovely. All right, thank you.
Yeah, and we've got one more question.
So do you have a WhatsApp group set up for us, Yinka, for this?
It's just a book club WhatsApp group, so we discuss everything that we do, like
Okay.
these sessions. Yeah.
So how do I find it to join the WhatsApp group? What's it in?
I can send you the link for that actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, please just send it to me. Yeah.
It's quite a busy WhatsApp group as well.
Right. Cool. Okay.
I think there's over 150 people in it now.
Awesome.
Yeah. But I'll send you the link for that. I'll write that down. Write my notes. That's remember what to do next.
Okay.
So we've got one more question from, I don't know the name because it's just a sign. A Chinese.
Oh, it's Xue Wen. Excuse me.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm from China.
How can we support you? What's happening?
So recently, I just lost my job. I'm
Ouch.
in England, so I got a little bit of depressed here. I can't go back to China because the COVID. Our government, Chinese government, almost cut all flights, so I can't fly back to China. And
Right.
I got trapped here, so I felt very depressed.
So my offering would be, your depression is not about being trapped in England. You know, there are a lot of people really happy about being in England. So your depression is because there's depression in you. And so my invitation would be, start to do that worksheet, start to move through it, and you'll be surprised what you open up around you and what will come to support you as you clean out those thought disorders based in, whatever the dynamic is for you, I don't know. But whatever it is, as you start to clean it out, you will produce different results. And that's the worksheet process. So I invite you to go to your app store on your phone and type in Heartland, HEARTLAND, Aramaic, ARAMAIC, forgiveness. Start doing that worksheet and watch what changes.
Thank you.
And we'll be holding you in our hearts. And welcome. Welcome. Glad you're here.
You're always welcome to come and join these sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
That is the final question. You should just
All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for your kind attention. It's awesome. And we'll look forward to, from now on, we're going to be the 2nd and 4th Thursday, same time, same station, same link. So delighted to be here.
It might be a different link for next month, but I will send you
Oh,
that.
it might. Oh, okay.
Yeah, some people attend the 5 a.m. club that I had to remove. So I may have to change to the link for next month, but I will send. Yeah.
Well, keep us posted. Thank you very much.
Thank
This
you.
is so
Thank you
wonderful.
so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very
Lots of
much.
love and blessings.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you,
God
Yinka.
bless.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Michael.
Thank you, Yinka.
Most welcome
Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
deserving.
So much love.
Bye.
Got
Love
it.
to everybody.
And standing
Blessings.
it